I'm going to keep this one short and sweet because there's not a whole lot to discuss here, but there is a lesson that I learned at the end of the video that you may want to stick around to find out about. So, pretty much when I was 21, one of my buddies, I was the first to turn 21 out of my friends, and I had no interest in going to the casino, but when a couple of my buddies turned 21, that was the first thing they wanted to do. Since a few of us were now 21, we could all go. And so I go to the casino and I end up losing $400, which at the time for me, even now, that's a lot of money to lose, especially in one night. And so I was very upset about that, and I went to the car and I looked up immediately how to count cards because I was not going to let that happen again. I didn't know how card counting worked. I thought it was just a money printing machine, but that will happen, and then a lot worse if you actually are counting cards. But I looked up Blackjack Apprenticeship, which is an amazing channel. Colin and the team really takes a good approach to teaching how to count cards, and they make it very straightforward. So there's three components to counting cards that I learned about. The first is basic strategy, and what that basically means is that based on computer simulations, there's a mathematically optimal choice for every position you might be in the game of blackjack. And so that means, like say that there's, if you have a 16 and the dealer has a 10, you're supposed to surrender if you can, but if you can't, you're supposed to hit that always. So that's basic strategy. And then that pretty much reduces your edge, or reduces the casino's edge rather, by an extremely large margin. You can go from about 15 to 20% disadvantage down to 0.5% disadvantage, which basically means that for every $10 you bet, if you don't know basic strategy, you're expected to lose $1.50 on every $10 bet you make. However, if you learn basic strategy, it reduces your edge down to, like I said, 0.5%, which means that for every $10 that you're spending, you're expected to lose 5 cents. Now, given that's the case, you can bet for much, much longer, and obviously that's not like an exact calculation. You're not going to be betting $10 and then winning $9.50 or 95 cents back on that. That's not really how it works, but over the course of 1,000 games, then that's kind of how the numbers will average out. So I learned basic strategy, and the other components to card counting are deviations and then bet spreads. That is something that was a little bit more than I was looking to take on at the time. I just looked into basic strategy, which was my biggest mistake, and so I pretty much right off the bat I started going to the casino. I'm skipping a few steps. My buddy, one of my other friends, he turned 21 a couple weeks after my other friends had, and he wanted to go to the casino as well. So we go to the casino, and this time I employ my basic strategy tactics that I had learned, and wouldn't you know, I won my money back, and then some. I won $500 that night. And so that to me was epic. I was so stoked, and I was like, well, okay, if this is how it's going to go, learning basic strategy, then I can just keep going. And then pretty much the worst possible thing happened in my case, which you'll hear this a lot. When it comes to people who get really into gambling, it's almost never that they go and they lose. It's rather that they go and they win. And so I didn't learn card counting thoroughly. I didn't actually learn how to do it. I just learned the first step to it. And so when I went to the casino, I was doing that. And unfortunately for me, I won for 11 consecutive sessions after that first win. So I had 12 straight winning sessions. Each session I won at least $200, but most times I was winning $400, $500, or $600. And at the time, that was like what I was making in a week doing, like I was starting my small business at the time. So like $600 in a week was a great week. And so to make that in one night at the casino was just amazing. So that happened over the course of maybe 3 or 4 months. Like I would go, like I said, we went 12 different times and I won every single time. And then there was one big loss at the end of that streak. I lost $800, but it was like, all right, well, I'm already up, about $6,000 in the casino. So that year I ended up really getting to enjoy myself because of the casino. My girlfriend and me went on a trip to Cancun for our anniversary, and that was amazing. I was able to do a bunch of like weekend trips to Tahoe and other places with my friends, and it was just very nice. I was able to eat well, and I thought that I had earned that because I had, won that money, but at the end of the day, I didn't earn any of that, and I didn't appreciate the money for that reason, and that's why I blew it all that year. So that was how things went at the beginning. And then we ended up taking a long break. We took about a year and a half off of gambling, and then I started going bowling. And there's actually a local card house right by the bowling alley. And so one night that we were there, we figured, hey, let's go after bowling. And we go, and I snapped back into gear. I became a money printing machine, and before you know it, I'm up $675. And for me, that night, we'd only been there for maybe 40 minutes or so, and I wasn't betting much. I was betting maybe 20 bucks a hand at the most. So I thought, well, if I'm doing this well, I may as well just get 700 bucks and leave, which if you've ever been up a lot of money, you know that when you set a goal for how much money you want to be up before you leave, that's usually when things take a downward turn. So I'm at $675 up. I figure, hey, I should just get to 700, then I'm good. And of course, that's not how it goes. I end up losing the next hand, and then I bet a little more. So I'm like, well, I just lost 25 bucks or whatever it was. I'll just bet 50 here, and then if I win, I'll get to 700. I lose, and then I'm like, okay, well, now if I bet 150, I'll get to 700. And so then I lose, 100. And so I lose, and I'm like, well, shoot, man. Like, now I'm only up 500, and I was just up $175 more. No way that I'm going to lose a fourth hand in a row. You know how this goes. And before you know it, I had lost all of that money and the 200 that I brought, and I was at the ATM pulling out more. And, once again, I kept betting, trying to get back that money that I had, and I found myself in the hole more money than I was up at one point. And that's when I kind of decided to leave, and I was pretty crushed. Now, that was the first time that it really ever happened to me. Usually it was the reverse, where if I was down a little bit or a lot, I would end up coming all the way back and then some. So I felt like this was an anomaly, but I would soon learn that that was the actual opposite. That's typically how things go. I had just been so incredibly lucky the first 12 sessions that my idea of what gambling should or could be was completely warped. And so that was the first time we went to the local card house. And we probably went, I don't even know, I never counted, but we probably went another 20 times. And each of those times, I lost at least $200. I maybe won like $100 once, but we lost every single time. At least I did. And so that was kind of devastating. And after a while, it just kind of became like, well, I don't really want to go anymore, which I'm very thankful that that's like the attitude shift that I had. But it just kind of became like, if I lose tonight, then I'm going to be working for nothing tomorrow. And that's how it felt every time. There was a few really, really horrible nights in particular, like one where I lost $800, and then the next morning when I woke up, I did the worst thing you could do. I thought, you know what, man, instead of going to work in the garage here, I'm going to go to the casino, and I'm going to see if I can win at least 100 or 200 of that back. And of course, I lost another 200 or 300. I don't remember exactly, but I lost $1,100, or I think it was $1,100. I lost in a matter of, 12 hours. And when you do that, and then you think about, okay, well, now this whole next week I'm going to be working for free. It's crushing, and it really, really doesn't, it demotivates the hell out of you. And so that was kind of, how things started to go. And, I threw in the towel a few months ago, finally, where I just decided, hey, you know what? I'm done gambling, at least here, because this is not only am I not having a good time here, but also I'm kind of perverting the experience of gambling. I feel like gambling can be fun. It can be a lot of fun. If you're going somewhere like a destination to gamble with your friends, you have a set amount of money that you set aside for it, and you're being actually responsible with it. You make a rule, maybe like don't go to the ATM at the casino. And if you can follow those rules and you can gamble responsibly, it can be a lot of fun, and I can't knock that. But at least in my case, that was not how I treated things. And so I decided, if I want gambling to be something special, something fun, and something novel, then I can't be going to my local card house every Tuesday after I bowl. And so that's kind of the realization I had to come to. And after I started to think about it in that way, it became a lot easier to not go. And so I don't even know how long it's been, but It hasn't been super long. It's only been probably a couple of months, maybe a few months, but I pretty much have zero desire to go nowadays. Now, pretty much the whole point of this video I wanted to kind of discuss is that my experience was very similar, I'm sure, to a lot of yours, in that I got so lucky at the start that it made me think about the reality of gambling in a completely distorted way than what it actually is. And because of that, I had a very difficult time, hanging up the spikes and saying, okay, I've had enough here once I started to lose quite badly. And I think overall, this like the unfortunate part is I think I'm still up in the grand scheme of things at the casino. So like that was always in the back of my mind too, where it's like, well, it's the casino's money that you're playing with, and that's not true. That's just completely a justification that you'll tend to make if you're a gambler. But one of the things that it kind of did, and this is the last thing I want to touch on before I end this video, is that when you're gambling that much and you're winning all these, and you're winning a lot of money and you're losing some money too, but when you're winning a lot of money, particularly, the way you think about money in general completely shifts. Because not only are you not earning that money you're winning, but you don't think about how much you actually have to work to earn that money, especially when you're going and you're betting $200 at the casino on a regular Tuesday night. $200 is, it's not a small amount of money. Even $100, even $50 to be losing in one night is not a small amount of money. It just kind of stings. And so that was something that I started to kind of tap into and realize that a lot of my lack of motivation in my job, I have a small business, and a lot of the lack of motivation I had in that was because I kind of felt like I was working for nothing, even though I could have made far more just working instead of thinking about the casino and trying to learn how to count. Trying to learn, I wasn't actually, but I was just faking my way into thinking I was doing something at the casino. And after I kind of realized that I was full of shit, it became a lot easier to kind of cut back. So that's my experience with card counting. And I hope that you're able to learn something from this, or at least be entertained by this story. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.